For past tenses, sorry, we are going to start with past simple. Yes, we need a subject, had, because it is the causative verb have in the past, the object, and the past participle. I, the subject, had, the verb in the past. My car, the object, washed, the action in past participle. And yesterday is telling me that the action is in the past. He, the subject, had, the main verb. His car, the object, washed, in the participle, the action in participle, and some extra information. For a negative sentence, I is the subject, didn't is did plus not. Yes, for negative past simple sentences we use did plus not. Have, the main verb, that is in the present. Yes, because did, the auxiliary verb, gets all the flexibility, all the variation, in this case, of the past. The object, car wash, and okay, yesterday the information, wash, the action in the participle. The subject in here is he, didn't, yes, the same auxiliary verb. Have, no, we use has only in present simple tenses, especially in the positive ones, and here we are in a negative tense sentence in past tense, so we have to use have, discard the object, and wash, the action in the past participle. For questions it's pretty similar. Did, yes, we start with did. If we want to ask something specific, we use a WH word. The subject, you or he. Have, in any of both, because what I have just explained. The object, the car, and the action in the past participle, washed. For past continuous is the same as in present continuous, but instead of using am, is, or are, we use was and were. You were having your car washed. You is the subject, were is the verb to be in the past, having, the main verb in the ing, your car, the object, wash, the participle. If we have a third person singular, subject is she, was, the verb be, yes, the auxiliary verb, having, the main verb, her car, the object, washed, in the participle. In the negative we have not after the auxiliary verb. You is the subject, weren't, the verb to be plus not, having, the main verb, your car, the object, washed, the action in past participle. Here is the same. She, the subject, wasn't, was plus not, having, the main verb, her car, the object, washed, the action in past participle. For the questions, WH were if we want to ask something specific, if not, was or were. The subject having an object and an action in past participle. Here we have were, you, having, your car, washed. Another example was she having her car washed. For past perfect, we need a subject, have, because it's the auxiliary verb have in the past, had again because had is the past participle too of have, and this is our main verb, our causative verb, an object and an action in the past participle. So for the first example, we have I is the subject, have is the auxiliary verb, yes. This second half is the main verb, the causative verb, my car, the object, washed, the past participle, and before I went to work. This is giving us the information that this clause has to be in past perfect. Yes, it's an action in the past before another action in the past. If we want to use a third person singular, for instance he is the subject, have, this is the auxiliary verb, have the main verb, the causative verb have, his car, the object, and wash in the past participle. If we want to make this sentences in the negative, we use a subject, had plus not plus had plus the object plus past participle. I is the subject, hadn't is the auxiliary verb have plus had plus not, have my main verb, my car is the object, and washed is the action in the participle. In the other example is the same. He is the subject, hadn't, had the main verb, his car the object, washed in the participle, in the past participle. For questions, we start with WH words or with have if it is a yes or no question. A subject, the verb, the main verb in the past because we are in a perfect tense, the car, the object, and the action in the past participle. Had you had your car washed? And the other example would be had she have her car washed? Yes, the past participle. To end with past perfect, we have the past perfect continuous, that this tense is missing in the other video, and we are going to revise it in the next one. Past perfect continuous, we need a subject plus have plus been plus having, because it is a continuous tense, and been is the participle for a perfect tense, and the object and the past participle. For instance, I is the subject, have the auxiliary verb had in the past, been the participle of be that allow us to have a continuous, yes, a continuous tense. My main verb have, that in this case is having because it is continuous, my car, the object, washed, the past participle, and 4 hours, one indicative of past perfect continuous. In the other example is the same. He, the subject, had the auxiliary verb, been the verb be in the past participle, having the main verb, my causative verb, his car, the object, washed in the participle. For negative, same structure, adding not between the auxiliary verb and the verb to be. I, the subject, had the auxiliary verb, not the negative, been the verb to be in the participle, having the main verb plus ing, my car, the object, washed, the past participle. And the other example is the same. He had not been having his car washed. In questions, as in the previous examples, had, we begin with had if we don't need a WH word. The subject, the be in the past participle, having because it's continuous, your car, the object, and wash, the past participle. So we have, sorry, had you been having your car washed for hours? The other example, had he been having his car washed for hours?